Welcome to our UNLV Writing Center workshop on writing scholarship essays and how to optimize the application process. Writers often feel a lot of pressure when writing or revising essays for the purpose of applying for a scholarship, so we're going to try and break the task down for you so you feel more comfortable with the process. In this workshop, we will be going over the following: examining the application process, analyzing scholarships for key dates and requirements, discussing the rhetorical situation of the scholarship essay, reviewing and breaking down common essay prompts, highlighting strategies for scholarship essays, and covering how to write effective introductions and conclusions. While some content on this slide might seem obvious to some writers, it's still important to review and keep the following points in mind since they are crucial to writing a scholarship essay. First, keep your deadline in mind at all times. Deadlines are non-negotiable, and it is wise to give yourself more time than you think you need in case things go wrong. While you can risk submitting your essay close to the deadline, there's always a chance that you might encounter a technology issue, overlook a word limit, or forget an essential document due to last-minute panic. Therefore, it is best to start drafting your essay early with the intention of submitting it early. Also, keep in mind that most of us get anxious about deadlines. So what can help us is if you utilize them as a tool for accountability rather than something dreadful. To make deadlines useful, create a schedule with milestones or have a friend keep you on track and provide feedback. For example, create your own timeline working backward from the ultimate submission deadline. Then you can add in deadlines for smaller parts, like writing a draft for a friend to review or to email a professor for a letter of recommendation. That way, you have something on your calendar to push you to stay ahead of the game, and those smaller steps can feel easier to accomplish when you separate them from the whole application process. What that hopefully helps you see is that starting early gives you an advantage. Scholarship essays are a tedious process, but they are important and should be taken seriously. While some people have had luck winning a scholarship with a last-minute draft, it's better to submit a draft that has been well thought out, strategically made, and polished. You will want to complete multiple drafts. Scholarship essays are not a genre that are taught widely. Rarely does somebody teach you how to write them, despite them being high-stakes documents. Each new draft allows you to experiment with different approaches and figure out what works and what doesn't. After all, every piece of writing can be improved in one way or another. Plus, drafting saves you the stress of having to write a perfect essay in one sitting. Lastly, expect to be frustrated. You will get to a point where you feel you have said what you needed to, or you feel that there's no way you can improve your essay. However, it's a trial and error process, and getting multiple people to give feedback and offer revisions can help, especially because, as we'll talk about in a few minutes, the audience for scholarship essays will want you to be detailed about yourself. A lot of times we think that we're being too detailed because we know this stuff about ourselves, but others can help us see where we might actually need to give more explanation. And remember, just because it's a trial and error process doesn't mean that your essay is bad. You have to start somewhere, and drafting lets you start with something okay or good that you can then make even better. So, where should you begin? Since the application process can be grueling, we recommend starting with the most straightforward task to gain some momentum. First, check the requirements of the scholarship. This might seem like a given, but you want to make sure that you qualify for the scholarship. These criteria might include meeting a certain GPA requirement, taking a certain prerequisite, and so on. Make sure you keep track of all of these because somewhere in your application materials, you need to make sure that you are demonstrating all of these requirements. You can even create a checklist of these requirements so that before you submit, you make sure everything is included in your application essay or other documents. Second, obtain or prepare to obtain all required materials. This applies to things such as transcripts, referrals, writing samples, and letters of recommendations. While obtaining a transcript might not seem tedious, keep in mind that it's a different process to receive an official transcript as opposed to an unofficial transcript via MyUNLV. For the former, you have to submit a request, wait a certain amount of days, pay a fee, and then pick it up in person. It is not something you can do in 10 minutes before the final deadline. As for recommendations, ask for them well ahead of your deadline. Most professors are happy to write letters of recommendations, but they are also busy humans. The more time you give them to write you a recommendation, the better chance you have of getting a personalized and well-written letter. We recommend giving at least 2 weeks' notice. Less than that, and they might say no because they don't have the time. And you don't want to have to find someone else at the last minute. Pro tip: when you ask your professor to write you a letter, share with them information about why you are applying for the scholarship and how you fit the requirements. That gives them more details to include about you in their letter, making the process easier for them and the recommendation stronger because it's more personal. Also, send the professor the submission deadline as well as all of the other information about how the letter of recommendation should be submitted. Do they need to email it? To what email address? Will you come pick it up? When? Coordinate all of that with them, and don't be afraid to give them a kind, gentle reminder a few days before the deadline. To get more in depth with the actual writing of these essays, let's talk about the rhetorical context of scholarship essays. This is where your English 101 and 102 skills come into play. The scholarship essay is a persuasive essay. Your job is to convince the readers that you deserve the scholarship and that you can represent the organization offering the award. Therefore, things you need to consider are: audience. Are you writing to a panel of people? What academic or public circle does your audience pertain to? Knowing this can impact your tone as well as the actual content that you decide to write about. We'll talk about this more in depth with the next slide. What details are you being asked of? What would your reader want to know most about and your goals in relation to what they are asking? What is the word or page limit? Going over or significantly under the length requirement generally shows a lack of revision and inability to cohesively put together your argument according to what the audience wants. Your readers won't want to give a scholarship to someone who isn't paying attention or who doesn't follow the rules. Do you need specific evidence? Does your audience ask for specific examples to show off how great you are? Remember, there's a difference between saying, "I volunteer frequently," versus, "I have spent the past 4 summers volunteering for the Boys and Girls Club where I have done X, Y, and Z to give back to my community." When you can, be as detailed as possible, and like in this example, show your audience the volunteering you have done, why you have done it, and why it's important to you instead of just telling them that you have done some volunteer work. Are there specific formatting rules? Again, presentation matters because your audience wants to see that you're adhering to their taste and know how to follow guidelines. What tone are they looking for? Is your audience expecting an essay that is more about your academic work and professional goals, or more geared towards your personal life? While this essay is about you, your audience plays a big part in how well it's received. Again, figure out who you're writing to. If you're writing to a specific person, it is important to directly address them in a letter to show that you are familiar with their organization. Do online research or consult with a mentor to figure out who you're supposed to address. You also want to keep in mind that your writing influences the way an audience views you. This is especially important in essays that ask you to describe adversities. Many people focus on making an emotional story, and while that can work to help you gain sympathy or make personal connections, it can also distract from your image if it goes too far. It can also cause your essay to lose focus on the prompt. Lastly, consider what you have to offer this audience. Think of it this way. If you were going to give someone a scholarship, what qualities would your ideal person represent? Scholarship awards have their own brand as well, so you want to make sure that you're representing yourself in a way that fits their goals and branding. When thinking about the audience, it's also important to understand the differences between your purpose for writing the essay and your audience's purpose for reading the essay, because, as you'll see, sometimes these purposes are at odds. First, some of your goals are to stand out from the other applicants, answer the prompt completely and specifically, identify your relevant qualities, and provide evidence of those qualities. These goals make sense. You want the scholarship, and you're up against a lot of other students, so you need to stand out, be detailed, and be persuasive. Meanwhile, your audience is trying to reject as many applicants as possible on the first pass. If 100 students apply, the readers are going to try to narrow that list down to make more like 15 students who seem best qualified. And those are the ones that they will look at most closely to choose a winner from. Pro tip: this is another reason why following all guidelines and spending time editing and polishing is so important. It takes a long time to read 100 applications, so the audience is going to look for quick and easy things, like a student not formatting the essay correctly or not capitalizing the first word of every sentence to narrow down their list. And you are doing all of this because you are trying to get accepted. You are doing the persuading, whereas your audience is thinking about and looking for certain qualities from the applicants whose presence will benefit the goals of the funding organization and/or that match the program's goals. They are looking to be persuaded. This means that they are less interested in doing what is best for an individual applicant, but what is best for the organization or program. And by you knowing what it is that they are looking for in an applicant means you can make sure that you describe your own experiences and qualities that highlight those things. To make sure that you are adhering to your purpose and the purpose of the author, you must make sure to fully understand the prompt. Reread the prompt several times and highlight or take notes on the requirements it is asking for. You can also make a checklist out of the prompt so that as you cover each item, you can check it off your list. Long prompts can especially make writers feel overwhelmed. Again, highlight, list, or make a checklist so that you are not only touching base with all the requirements, but checking that all these elements tie together neatly. Otherwise, it might just feel like you're hitting the audience with answer after answer, a list rather than a cohesive essay. Also, pay attention to the word count. Most essays cap the word count at 500 words, but that doesn't stop them from sometimes asking a million questions. Tying elements together means you can work to answer 2 or 3 questions at once. It's tough, but it's important for you to craft a balanced response that respects the limitations. Hence, why we often need to produce multiple drafts. Here are some common prompt themes. You'll see on this list the first word of each is emphasized. It helps to know what exactly you'll need to do. So we look for keywords such as describe, discuss, answer, and compose. Each of these are a little bit different from the others, so you will want to make sure you know what action you need to take. Then you'll notice that some prompts ask you to cover a distinct topic, a significant experience, achievement, person or issue, and sometimes you have the choice while others you do not. Or they ask you to link the scholarship or organization to yourself as a way of justifying your qualifications and that they match the organization's goals. Or they might ask you to write a particular type of text, like a letter or a statement of purpose. These are just a few examples of the kind of prompts you might see. But each scholarship has its own goals, so the prompt will differ in order to meet those. And keep in mind too that these are all different prompts, and some might seem easier to respond to than others. You still want to take the time to consider the rhetorical situation of each, so go back and ask yourself the questions we've discussed, such as who is the audience, what evidence do you need to provide, and so on. Talking through all of this is one thing, but it's another to actually break down a prompt to identify all of these criteria. So, let's break down a sample prompt together to practice. We're going to focus specifically on length indicators, keywords, and phrases. Here's a sample prompt for a study abroad scholarship. Write a one-page, single-spaced essay explaining your reasons for studying abroad. Why have you chosen the study abroad program you plan to attend? What personal and academic goals do you hope to achieve by studying in the program you have selected? How do you expect to use the knowledge and experience gained through the study abroad in your chosen career? Where do you see the length indicator? Hopefully, this was pretty easy to spot. We see it in the first line, a one-page, single-spaced essay. So we actually see a length indicator and formatting indicator together. It's not just one page in length, but it also should be single-spaced. Next, what keywords help you to understand what actions you need to take when writing? This task might be a bit more challenging because we would argue that not all of the keywords in this prompt are verbs, like what was shown on the previous slide. We do have explaining as a clear action. The word explain implies that you are going to give details to show us why something is the way it is. We then highlighted reasons because this helps us see what it is that needs to be explained. And then we highlighted why, what, and how. Because these are different actions, to explain why someone has made a choice is different than explaining what they hope to achieve from that choice or how that choice will impact future outcomes. Lastly, what other words or phrases help you to understand what content you should focus on when writing? We knew that we would need to explain reasons for doing something, and now we can see that we should explain the reasons for studying abroad. Likewise, we see what specifically needs to be explained in the why, what, and how questions. Why have you chosen this study abroad program? What goals do you hope to achieve? How do you expect to use the knowledge and experience gained during it? From here, we can take these highlighted notes and begin to draft ideas about each of these points. 1. The reason for studying abroad. 2. Why this particular program sounds interesting. 3. What would be learned. And 4. How the experience will impact future plans. Before we dig into the task of drafting, first we want to clarify that we took a long time breaking down this prompt. As you are working, you do not need to go this slowly if you do not want to. It's okay to group keywords and phrases together. However, the important thing is that you pay attention to what actions you need to take, what information you need to cover, and what other guidelines for length and format you need to adhere to. So after analyzing the prompt, we can focus on creating a draft. As mentioned, you should write your draft keeping an eye on answering all the aspects of the prompt in a cohesive manner. Some parts may seem more important than others, but it's key to address everything. That being said, make sure to balance what gets priority and give it the space on the paper that it needs. However, do not spend so much space on those elements that you neglect other criteria. It must all be there. When first drafting, don't worry so much about writing a perfect draft. That can be a bit debilitating and can put a lot of stress on you as a writer. Get your ideas on paper, regardless of length or how good you think the paper is. Once you have ideas down, you can cut things out, add things, and analyze what is working and what isn't. Scholarship essays can have a lot of pressure on a writer because it's a high-stakes essay, but remember that you should strive to produce the best version that you can make, seeking help when you need it, of course. Here are some tips for starting an enticing introduction. If you have to write it in letter format, include a formal salutation. Again, find out who you're writing to and address them by their name, if possible. Second, you want to get straight into your content. As nice as it would be to take some time to develop a large idea at first, you are generally limited to a certain amount of words. Each sentence and word counts, so you want to make sure it plays an important part in answering the prompt. Also, your readers might be reading dozens of other scholarship essays. This means that they might be tired or not paying very close attention. You'll need to let them know right from the start the most important information about who you are and why you're a good fit for the scholarship. And also be engaging enough to make them pay attention and want to read more. Opening with an interesting experience can be a good way for you to show your audience who you are and how you fit the goals of the organization right from the start. Do make sure, though, that the experience you chose is relevant to the rest of your answers or that it ties in neatly. You don't want to throw things out of left field. Another thing, show originality. Remember, you are competing against so many others for the award. However, don't force originality. Not every aspect of yourself needs to be unique. Highlight what makes you, you. You can also pose a question or a problem that exists that has captured your interests and motivated your work. Introductions vary since everyone has different life experiences, interests, and passions, so don't get too worried if it's hard to come up with a stellar introduction right off the bat. This is another reason you should write drafts. Something you write first might trigger a better idea later. Here's a visual that offers a bunch of tips you should keep in mind while writing. Be concise. Again, you only have a limited amount of words or characters. Give specific evidence. This shows that you have taken the time to really consider your experiences or goals. Experiment with multiple drafts and get feedback from others. Have a thesis, a central argument, or a unifying theme. These can help you stay on topic and guide you if you start to stray from the essay's focus. Use topic sentences and transitions. Your ideas should flow together in a way that allows your readers to see the connections. Be honest. It's very obvious when people aren't being honest or when they're trying too hard. Don't be generic. Imagine having to read a stack of essays and all of them repeating the same ideas. It makes the rest of the essay bland. Don't use obscure vocabulary. This can throw off your audience or make your essay feel inaccessible. Don't use cliches. These also come across as generic. Ones to avoid include broaden my horizons, was a meaningful experience, I always wanted to be I want to make a difference. Those ideas can work, but explain yourself in ways that help you stand out. In other words, use your own expressions. Don't write your life story. Documenting more than a decade of your life is something so deep and complex that doesn't fit the rhetorical situation of the paper or within the word limit. Instead, pick an event or events to highlight your experiences or qualifications, but make sure it's focused so that your essay doesn't sound like an autobiography. Don't rewrite your resume. You might have a bunch of amazing achievements, but if you're not answering the prompt, there's not much that those achievements can do to help you when placed against essays that do answer the prompt. Lastly, don't make stuff up. It's unethical to lie on documents like this because both you and the organization could be brought up on serious charges as scholarship money will be exchanging hands. Finally, a bit on conclusions. Conclusions may be the second most important part of the essay, and they are the final thing the reviewer reads and makes a lasting impression. This is an opportunity for you to tie all your ideas together. Don't simply summarize your essay. Revisit a story, idea, or word from the intro to bring everything full circle and deliver one final, satisfying writing punch. Finally, look ahead and out to show that you are goal-driven and looking to make changes for yourself, your field, and those around you. Connect your writing to plans or larger concerns that interest the organization or that make sense when considered in the context of your essay. To review, in this workshop we have observe strategies for a successful writing process that can help you write and polish your essays. This includes starting early and giving your essays enough time to incubate and flourish. This also means adjusting your essay for every application, as each application has a rhetorical situation that must be considered. Note that generic essays seem lazy or can appear to be off topic. Consider that writing a scholarship essay is generally a long and tricky process, especially when trying to avoid the don'ts of an essay or trying to make it an interesting introduction and conclusion. And remember, Writing Center consultants are here to give help. Getting a new perspective can help a ton. Even if you don't want to incorporate every piece of feedback that you get, many of our consultants are familiar with the process of writing scholarship essays and will approach your essay in a non-judgmental fashion. If it helps, know that we will not discuss the contents of your paper outside of the consultation, because that wouldn't be cool. Also, if you haven't taken a look yet, down in the video description you'll see a handout for writing scholarship essays that includes a checklist of things you need to do when applying and to look for in the prompt. Download that so you can stay on track as you work and so you don't forget anything. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, or corrections for any of the materials presented? Contact the Writing Center at writingcenter@unlv.edu and we'll get your questions answered or take feedback on how we can improve. If you need more assistance with scholarship essay writing, we have plenty of resources at the UNLV Writing Center. When our physical location is open, we have a full computer lab with work cubicles and printing access. We also offer one-on-one consultations with writers in person or online. When we are able to get back to campus, we accept drop-ins, though we highly recommend that you make an appointment, especially during exam weeks. We are normally open Sunday to Friday, but check our website for the most up-to-date hours. Our main office is located in Central Desert Complex, Building 3. Most semesters, we also offer 2 satellite locations that are open in the evenings. Depending on the night, you can find us either in the Dayton Hall South Conference Room or the Lead Library's Armagosa Room. Hours and maps to both locations can also be found on our website. As for our online resources, we have PDF versions of our handouts on topics including writing conclusions, punctuation, and writing to an audience, some of which are linked in the video description below. To explore more resources, visit our website at writingcenter.unlv.edu. Our website also gives you access to the most up-to-date information on our hours, as well as access to our online writing lab and information on how to schedule virtual consultations. On our website, you'll also find other workshops like the one you just watched, as well as a schedule for any in-person workshops we may offer and more. You can also contact us with quick questions, which is any question that will take us 10 minutes or less to answer without having to schedule an appointment. Send us an email or Google chat at writingcenter@unlv.edu or give us a call at 702-895-3908. For the latest information on Writing Center happenings, follow us on social media. You can find out more information about Writing Center and UNLV campus events, learn writing tips, expand your vocabulary, meet our consultants, find some motivation for writing, and much, much more. We look forward to working with you in the Writing Center. Happy writing!